You are sitting in the back of a luxury sedan, watching the rain slide down the tinted glass. You are wearing a bespoke suit tailored in London. Your watch is a masterpiece of Swiss engineering that costs more than the average house. To the outside world, to the bankers in Geneva and the corporate executives in Dubai, you are a high-level logistics consultant. You manage complex supply chains. You facilitate global trade. You are a man of spreadsheets, contracts, and quiet efficiency. But your true business is not listed on any public exchange. You are the architect of the shadows. You do not move consumer electronics. You move conflict. You are the premier supplier of heavy tactical hardware for the most powerful underground syndicates on the continent. You understand the magic of the paperwork. You know how to make a shipment of restricted military-grade inventory look like agricultural equipment. You route the cargo from forgotten warehouses in Eastern Europe through shell companies in the Mediterranean until it lands quietly on a private airstrip where no questions are asked. You are invisible, indispensable, and incredibly wealthy. For 5 years, you supplied the Northern Coalition. You gave them the operational advantage. You provided the encrypted communication networks, the advanced thermal optics, and the heavy merchandise that allowed them to control their territories with absolute authority. They paid you in millions, deposited into decentralized offshore accounts. They trusted you. You were their exclusive provider. Then, the territorial war began. The Southern Syndicate, ever an ambitious and highly aggressive organization, decided to challenge the North. The conflict was immediate and devastating. The region was plunged into absolute chaos. Supply lines were cut. Checkpoints were established. The demand for tactical hardware skyrocketed overnight. And that is when your encrypted phone rang with an unknown number. The Southern Syndicate did not want to eliminate you. They wanted to hire you. They knew about your logistical brilliance. They offered you triple your usual rate to supply their forces. You sat in your immaculate office, staring at the flashing screen, and you made the mathematical calculation that would eventually destroy your life. You told yourself that business is entirely neutral. Supply and demand. You told yourself that if you did not provide the merchandise, someone else would step in and take the profit. You rationalized the unthinkable. You accepted the contract. You began playing the most dangerous game of chess in human history. Operating as the sole supplier for two warring factions requires a level of psychological compartmentalization that slowly rots your mind from the inside. You built two completely separate logistical universes. You used different shell companies, different transport crews, different shipping routes. The left hand could never know what the right hand was doing. On Mondays, you sat in virtual meetings with the Northern commanders, reviewing their inventory needs to defend a crucial highway. On Thursdays, you met with the Southern lieutenants in secure locations, providing them with the exact hardware required to breach that very same highway. And yet, you became the invisible god of their war. You controlled the temperature of the conflict. When you delayed a shipment to the South, the North advanced. When you expedited a delivery to the North, the South retreated. You were not just a supplier anymore. You were the absolute master of the board. The money was incomprehensible. Tens of millions of dollars flowed into your accounts every single month. You bought a penthouse with panoramic views. You bought properties under fake names across 3 continents. You thought you had outsmarted the entire criminal ecosystem. You thought your spreadsheets made you bulletproof. But the reality of your business began to leak through the cracks of your denial. You started watching the news. You saw the aftermath of the operations you equipped. You saw neighborhoods reduced to rubble. You saw the smoke rising from cities you used to visit. You knew exactly which batch of merchandise caused the destruction. You knew the exact routing number of the invoice that paid for the ashes. The distance between your clean, quiet office and the absolute devastation you were funding vanished. You stopped sleeping. The paranoia settled into your chest like a block of ice. You knew that if either side discovered your double game, your life would end in a way that no amount of money could prevent. In the underworld, loyalty is the only currency that matters, and betrayal is processed with infinite cruelty. To manage the stress, you isolated yourself. You pushed your family away, creating fabricated corporate emergencies to miss holidays and birthdays. You could not look your mother in the eyes. So, knowing that your luxury was built on the collapse of thousands of families just like yours, you traded genuine human connection for the cold, sterile safety of your golden cage. You maintained the illusion perfectly for 2 years. And then, the inevitable mathematical error occurred. It was not a major betrayal. It was a microscopic logistical glitch. A newly hired associate in your Cyprus office mixed up a shipping manifest. A highly specific, custom-modified batch of communication jammers, Hardware that you personally designed and exclusively sold to the Northern Coalition was accidentally packed into a container destined for the Southern Syndicate. You did not realize the error until 3 weeks later when the Southern forces successfully raided a Northern safe house. Your encrypted phone vibrates. It is 3:14 a.m. It is the Northern commander. His voice is perfectly calm, which is the most terrifying sound in your world. He tells you that they recovered the enemy's equipment after the raid. He tells you that the serial numbers on the enemy's communication jammers perfectly match the sequential lot numbers of the inventory sitting in his own warehouse. He does not scream. He does not threaten. He simply says, "We need to discuss our supply chain, in person, tonight." Before you can even process the absolute horror of that sentence, the second encrypted line on your desk lights up. It is the Southern lieutenant. He wants to know how the enemy forces possess the exact same proprietary hardware that you swore was exclusive to their contract. In a fraction of a second, the entire architecture of your double life collapses. The illusion of control shatters. Both sides have done the math. Both sides have realized that the man selling them the shield is the exact same man selling the sword. The air in your penthouse completely disappears. You cannot breathe. The millions in your offshore accounts are instantly rendered worthless. You cannot buy your way out of a unified resolution from two organizations that have decided you are the ultimate liability. You are no longer a billionaire consultant. You are the most actively hunted ghost on the planet. You have exactly 20 minutes before the extraction teams from both sides arrive at your building's lobby. You abandon everything. You leave the custom suits in the closet. You leave the luxury watch on the nightstand. You grab the emergency bag you packed 2 years ago, the one containing a sterile passport, untraceable cash, and a digital ledger. You do not take the private elevator. You take the concrete service stairs, listening to the echo of your own rapid footsteps, anticipating the mechanical click of a weapon at every single landing. You merge into the cold, rainy night. You acquire a secondary vehicle from a long-term parking structure. You drive out of the city, checking your rearview mirror every 3 seconds. Every pair of headlights feels like a tactical pursuit. Every red traffic light feels like an ambush waiting to trigger. You abandon the car near a commercial port. You pay a smuggler to put you in the dark hull of a cargo freighter heading to Southeast Asia. You sit in absolute darkness for 14 days, surrounded by the smell of diesel and salt, listening to the engine roar. You survive the escape. You make it across the ocean. 5 years later, you are sitting in a cheap plastic chair on the balcony of a modest apartment in a crowded, humid city where nobody speaks your language. The fan hums above you. The air is heavy and suffocating. You beat the system. You manage to slip through the cracks before the jaws closed. But as you look out at the anonymous streets below, you realize the crushing, inescapable truth of the underworld. You did not escape. You just built a different kind of prison. You cannot use your real name. You cannot contact your family. You cannot access the millions you washed and stored, because activating those accounts would immediately flag your location to the intelligence networks that both syndicates employ. You are a billionaire who lives like a ghost, counting the change in your pocket to buy groceries. Paranoia is your permanent condition. You never sit with your back to the door. You jump when a motorcycle accelerates too quickly in the street. You scan the faces of every stranger passing by, looking for the specific cold posture of an operator sent to permanently close your file. You sold the hardware. You funded the chaos. You manipulated the board to enrich yourself, thinking you were the smartest player in the game. But the game does not forgive, and it never forgets. You traded everything that made you human for an empire of shadows, and your final reward is an eternity of waiting in the dark, knowing that the people you armed are the ones who will eventually come to collect the debt.